young is the youngest kid that's been involved in a ram raid?
It can range from 10. I think the 10 is probably the youngest that I've heard of.
Over the last few months, it seems like a new crime wave has emerged in New Zealand. Ram raids, where people drive cars into shops to bust them open and steal the goods inside. Last year there were around 5 a week across the country. And the crazy thing is, it's mostly teenagers.
So that's the first one. And they were pretty much in and out within 40 seconds. So when the first robbery happened, we found an account on TikTok where they had posted everything online, just bragging about what they have stolen from us.
Himanshu Batra owns a small vape store in Sandringham with his parents. They only opened in October last year, but in 6 months have been ram raided twice and robbed at knife point twice.
So this is when my parents were here. So these were schoolgirls, and then they tried to point the knife to my mother's neck, and also one of the girls tried to kick my mother as well. I don't have words to express how I feel about it, but it's so unsafe that I got my parents involved into this business. They got retired. I wanted them to look after something so that they can easily enjoy their retirement life and have a secure income. But it feels like I have kind of made their life a target here. That liquor store over there, they have been robbed multiple times, and they have been sleeping in their shop at the night to prevent those ram raids.
We have had this business for 13 years, and since the last November, we've been broken in for twice. So we think that we should to do something to protect us. Andy just decided that he needed to sleep in a shop. Otherwise, we worry about the group of people will come back again. He sleeps in a shop every day. Most of the incident happened between like the early morning, between 3 to 4 o'clock. So now I'm so worried about because I at home, but I also cannot sleep well because I'm quite worried about his safety,
Police say nearly 90% of ram raid offenders are under the age of 20, with the majority under 17.
It's pretty crazy to think a 10-year-old will be out there doing something like that. So we need to figure out how they got to that point, especially being at 10 years old. I've got a 10-year-old daughter, but I know exactly where she is and what she's doing. So
Yeah, as a dad, how does that feel, knowing that there's kids the exact same age as your daughter out here?
yeah, it's pretty scary.
How did the 10-year-olds know how to drive?
How did you know how to drive?
I didn't learn
You just jumped in the car and started driving?
I didn't learn to drive until I was an adult, so...
Yeah. Well, that's what I mean. There's so many layers to it. So it's like you didn't just jump in the car and start driving. So there's a lot of stuff that have been happening before that one incident. If we chucked my daughter in the car, she wouldn't know what to do. So if she wanted to learn how to drive, it would be me teaching her, showing her, watching stuff. And that's possibly what a lot of these kids are doing. We're just seeing a lot of it, their friends, their peers. What we need to understand is that a lot of our kids didn't just wake up and said, I wanted to go and rob a store or something like that. So there's so many complex layers that we kind of have to understand before we start trying to figure out what's wrong.
Most youth offenders have had serious stuff go on in their lives. 88% of teenagers who go through a youth justice process have, earlier in their lives, had somebody make a report of concern to Oranga Tamariki about them. Basically, somebody was worried that these kids were likely to be abused, harmed, or neglected.
You can't not go home and think, is that helicopter in a car chase? Is that going to be, am I going to get an email in the morning that says so-and-so's been arrested or picked up?
Jolene Cartwright manages a social work organisation called Turn Your Life Around, who run an early intervention program with youth.
The 10 and 11 and 12-year-olds, those real 7-year-olds, they're not seeing victims being people. A building with electronics in it is not in their view, they don't see it so much that there's a person behind that. Their brain development isn't telling them you are hurting people, you are making victims. What we're finding, and when we've found for quite some years, is there's a multitude of complex issues that are going on for that young person, and it's in the home, and it's generational. It could be targeted offending because it's quick money, because they are living in poverty and they are the third generation living in poverty. And then they are also then looking at the world or the community they live in and they're not connected.
When you're over 18 and commit a crime in New Zealand, you go through the adult justice system. Younger than that, it's either oranga tamariki or the youth justice system, where the outcomes can be a police warning, a youth aid referral, a family group conference, or going through youth court.
So is it a situation where, like, for example, an 18-year-old or a 19-year-old might know that they might go to jail if they did this kind of crime, but if they get a 17-year-old to do it, there would be less consequences?
No, not at all. Just different consequences. They are held accountable and the police investigate all of these offences, and we have had some good success with identifying the offenders for them. They are held accountable in different ways. So we try and involve family, communities, schools, things like that to try and get them off the track that they're currently on and back on probably a more productive one, if you like. There are youth centres that they can get sent to, but I think locking a child up is not helping the underlying issues that they need help with.
I feel like I've only heard about ram raids in the last couple of months, but police figures show that last year there were 283 ram raids when we weren't even hearing about ram raids at all. Is it a situation where they are genuinely going up, or is this just something that's always been happening and now all of a sudden we're panicking about it?
Ram raids aren't new to police, it's something that's always happened. Bigger stores were targeted for things like electronics, jewellery, clothing. However, it seems to have increased just recently and we're seeing more young people involved. I think a lot of media attention at the moment has also brought it to the forefront, but it's not new.
You said their behaviours to us represent hurt and trauma, but to the person out there, it just looks like, you know, someone having, you know, a ram raid.
I would rather work with the young person and the mum and dad.
Yes, totally. Yeah.
Rather than just work with the young person and
put them back
in
into their foundation.
Yeah. But if we work with the family as a whole, at least then they're moving together.
There are still a pocket of our young people that will continue to go from the petty crime to the dairy robberies to then they will continue to get a little bit more risky. It's short-sighted to also then blame the parents. Like, we can't blame the parents if nobody helped them. And for some, it's even the grandparents weren't helped along the way. So it's about education, it's about justice, it's about care and protection, it's about well-being, health. It's about a bigger picture of how we can help a whānau rather than a person.
The government announced it will help fund bollards and other physical defences to protect shop owners from ram raids. They also announced $560 million of funding to police for gang and youth-related crime.
Will more money for police actually help solve the social issues that are behind this?
I hope so, but it's not just a police problem. I think it's across the board. Everybody has to contribute.
Are you worried that kids are going to die in these crashes?
Oh, like any parent would be worried, not just hurting themselves, but hurting, members of the public. It could possibly be my family, your family. So,
what's the solution?
Solution? What do you think the solution is?
I don't know.
I think the solution is us continuing to do what we're doing, because I think we're forgetting that there's so many amazing services out there that are doing great work. That's a message for me personally as a police officer, that we're here to help. And that's the true essence of a police officer, is to actually care, not just about our victims, but especially a lot of these kids who've been victimised themselves that we don't really understand until we're in that space. So a lot of times it's like FTP, but not my youth aid officer, or not this person, not this cop. And those are the small changes that we want.
What are some of the things that have really stuck with you that you've seen at some of these ram raids?
I think sometimes the repeat offence on one store. So there's a couple of stores in our area whose dairies have been ram raided 2 or 3 times. So that just keeps re-victimising that person. The offence may take out $700, $1,000 worth of product, but for them to restore their store and put in that prevention, they're looking in excess of $20,000 often.
we don't know. It's an unknown world for us at the moment. Now, what's going to happen this night? Is another attack going to happen? Like, is our store again going to be a target? We are kind of struggling to decide what should be our next steps. Like, until how long we can keep going. And if we have to close that and go away, obviously it will be really disappointing and disheartening for us. And pretty much that's the point where we have come. Even living in this part of the town or having a business in this part of town is so scary. It is mentally really, really stressing for us, for parents, and for everyone involved in the business.